Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Off the Rail Fridays is upon us yet again.
Are we going to start with the show on the rails or just never get it on the rails?
I'm taking it off right now.
The PGA Championship's on our TV. Or Players Championship, whatever.
Which means that there's a really good excuse if we're not paying attention to each other.
Kyper, I said something.
Squirrel.
Who did we have on? Remember when we did the show during Canada's first game at the World Cup?
Oh, yeah.
And who did we have on?
Someone we utterly disrespected.
I can't remember who it was we had on. And I remember watching the YouTube video back, and neither of you guys listened to one word they said. You're both just staring at
big
this.
tournament for Canada.
Yeah.
Maybe that won't be the case because we do have a terrific lineup for you. Chris Therien, former Flyer defenseman, is going to be joining us about 20 minutes to tell us what the hell is going on in Philadelphia. Chuck Fletcher out as general manager of the Philadelphia Flyers. Danny Briere named interim general manager. I only got one question for Bundy. Why now? Like, are you kidding me?
I think why now with the caveat that why not sooner?
Oh, my gosh, I guess.
To me, I said this in our group chat, but like the JVR not getting traded, what are we doing here? Like, you can't just have an asset. You're trying to be bad. He wants to go play. You're trying to stockpile assets. How do you not move him somewhere? Someone would have taken him.
No, I don't think so.
No one wanted James Van Riemsdyk.
Nobody wanted JVR. Wow. And if you did,
then I'll shut my mouth.
How could you have made the money work? That's just it. Even if you wanted him, the $7 million price tag says
you got to double retain on a guy that
you're like, what do I want you for? Really? You're coming in as a frontline guy? No.
They couldn't give him away, waive him. Nothing.
Are you coming to my team to like run somebody over in the playoffs? No. I'm trading for you.
I would like to point out that there is enough examples aside from that one, but I am shocked to hear that to me felt like the straw that broke the camel's back.
Well, we'll find out for sure as Chris Therien will join us in about 18 minutes. Doug McLean also in on his regularly slotted Friday. We'll get his thoughts on Chuck Fletcher. Tampa Bay struggles or Tampa Bay's newfound muscle as they've gone to another level with their brawling these days.
I want to tell you guys more about that. I wrote about it today. So whenever you're ready for me, you tell me.
We'll get that as well. And then the Edmonton Oilers coming in town on an all-time high. Bob Stauffer, host of Oilers Now, will join us to get us ready for what should be a very fun Saturday night in Toronto where McDavid comes into town. Does he hit 70 goals? Does he get a few Saturday night? We'll get all of that out of Bob. In the meantime, the Leafs on the ice for the first time. For how long, Sammy?
Uh-oh, did I screw it up? The first time since returning from their 5-game road trip.
Yeah, no, you didn't screw up.
Okay, good. I was reading it back. I was like, oh, God. Oh,
I know it's a natural feeling for you.
Done?
Johnny, journalist. I was like, oh, no.
And got to be honest with you, I'm like, okay, how many storylines can we throw around today coming off on a Friday? And for that reason where they haven't even practiced and yet.
Oh, we got storylines.
It just kind of writes itself with the new look Toronto Maple Leafs, i.e. not faces, but lineup. And I got to be honest with you, never saw this lineup on a Saturday night after a very good win against New Jersey. This is the last lineup I probably would have thought I'd see going into Saturday night. You want to rifle them off there, Sammy?
Well, so there's a few things because this was before Keefe spoke that this was the lineups that people were tweeting out. But they are going to 11-7 tomorrow night again, which we all hate,
despise.
Every single person involved in this show, Sis Boomba hates it, Randeo hates it, I hate it.
My mom's not into it. Yeah,
everyone I talk to hates it. I feel like they even hate it. Like remember Keefe's like, I don't love it.
Yeah, that was the first thing he said about it.
So,
but they want to get all these D in.
So at first I saw Simmons involved and I was like, oh my God, like they're really searching for something, but he's just placeholder. They're just keeping him involved, I guess, in the lineup. So I guess he won't be involved, but they're going to put They're going to put Gustafsson in. You know, they're sticking with Lafferty, Nylander, and Yarncroc together because they like the way that looked. They want Tavares and Bunting to play together. Like, I got to tell you, boys.
Yeah.
It's just, you're doing too much for me. Like, it's just, can we just play a normal hockey lineup with some lines here? And, like, I know you're trying to keep people involved and all this, but, like, you weren't really looking forward to keeping Rasmus Sandin involved. And now that you got another guy, you want to keep him involved? Like, I don't know. It's just really weird what they're doing with the lineups.
I don't understand.
I'm trying to. But I'm not. I'm not arriving there.
Middle of March.
I don't understand it, bro.
Closing in on middle of March. Can we just have some sense of...
Pretend playoffs are starting tonight. What would it look like? You know, like... If I'm Keefe, that's got to be the thought. Like, what's the best lineup we can create out of this?
Are we under the impression that Bunting and Tavares are on the third line here? Or are we just married to the fact that there is no 1, 2, or 3? Well, we know 1.
Yeah, we know 1.
We don't know 2 or 3.
So Tavares and Bunting, they don't have a set winger on the right side as of right now. Last we saw.
Keefe talked about it. We should listen to
let's do
Keefe
that.
on 11 and 7, and we'll go from there, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Let her rip.
I mean, it demands more of the coaching staff and the players in terms of you making a lot more decisions in terms of who's going to play with who, you know, what the right matchups are and who to get with different people, but you're also monitoring energy levels, you know, a lot more than you would be in a normal game when you're rolling 4 lines. It's generally just because of the pace and the rhythm of the line changes. You have a good sense of who's going to be ready and who's not. And 11 and 7, you're a little more in flux there, and you are trying to keep some lines intact. So some players aren't as available because you do want to have some continuity. So that's just on me to manage that and for the players to show some patience with it. But I do think there's some good opportunities there as well. Like, obviously, look at it, you know, Tavares and Bunting, and we've got things lined up because I do like the Lafferty group. I would like to continue with those guys playing together and try to build on what they did the other night. But you know, it gives me some real opportunity to play around with Tavares and Bunting there in that pairing and who I can play with them and see how that goes for us, because I do think we've gotten some real good shifts from Kampf and Achari and Aston Reese. So.
Okay, I don't know what the hell he just said.
I'm thinking it through as he's talking about it. So he really liked Nylander, Lafferty, Yarncroc, and he wants to see him again, right?
That's fine.
But here's my question. If he likes it, could he see that as a third line for them? Keep Tavares and O'Reilly as a second line with someone. And, you know, that's a pretty good third line, right? If you put Willie on it there. I don't know. Maybe he wants to see that. I am curious about the idea that he said.
Is there a world where you see Kerfoot starting game 1 with Matthews?
There is a world. It's not one I want to live in.
That's the world I one day don't want to live in.
But yeah, he said there's some guys that'll be less available because you do want some continuity. So his point is he's going to have a couple of lines that he wants to keep solid, and he's going to be using the other lines then to kind of shuffle. Sounds like they're going with 3 forward lines essentially, and they'll be shuffling guys through, assuming that means the Kerfoot spot is available for looks from other guys, Bunting included, maybe Tavares at times. I don't know.
I think it's just
as Sammy said, doing too much.
I think it's just overthinking. And I know the game's changed over the years, but I don't think what's changed is players coming into the dressing room going, "Oh my God, can you just leave us alone for 5 minutes? Can you just like, this is middle of March. You've got Maroon, Belmar, and Corey Perry on the other side that have been there together all year and know exactly their roles. They're locked in, and you're treating now the last 18 games like you're starting game one in the regular season.
Yeah, I think when you have massive turnover like this, you know, there is some figuring how you want it to look. Obviously, the necessary caveat to all this is the 2 injuries make it really hard. Like O'Reilly being out and Tavares being or missing a game. So just O'Reilly makes it very hard.
It shouldn't. It shouldn't.
No?
No, not one guy.
Well, you didn't minus anything off your roster, really,
Not
in those trades.
one guy should change this whole thing. It should not be turned upside down for one player.
So it's the D, though, that came in that are turning this upside down. It's because they want 7 in more than anything, it feels like, right?
Correct. Would you like to hear Sheldon talk about that
Oh,
part of it?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh,
What
man.
a producer.
Got a lot of explaining to do, Lucy.
Yeah, I think it's less about finding who works best with whom. It's more about just keeping the guys involved, specific to the defense. Because we're healthy back there, and with Shen in the early part of that road trip, there you have 8. With 7 here now, plus Timmins, who comes in as our 8th now. There's a lot of guys there to manage, and you got Gustafson, who's. He was thriving in Washington. He was playing a ton and running their power play and lots of points and feeling really good about his season. And then it's been tougher for him coming here. Now he's playing behind lots of guys and trying to find ways to keep him involved and keep him working in, because I do think he offers our group some things, not unlike what Sandine brought us in terms of ability to move the puck and help us on the breakout, help us in the offensive zone, help us on the power play. I think it is important that we keep him involved, and for right now, it's in the 11 and 7 mix. But
So he doesn't care if they play well. He's just got to keep everybody in the mix.
Yeah. I have some sympathy for the idea that you tell everyone and the team agrees you need 8D, you need however many D, and then you get 8D, and these guys are like, hey, we're pretty good. Like, I'm not watching forever, so they want these guys to play, but it's tough. By the way, him talking about Gustafson feeling good in Washington, I don't know if you saw my tweet. I think you may have retweeted earlier, Sammy, but Sandine played 30 minutes last night.
I saw that.
30 minutes. And so
This guy Hedman in the playoffs? Like, what
I know. So the point about Gustafson had been, going along well and playing lots in Washington. Have you seen the D-core? Like, you would expect a guy when they don't have anyone behind him to play a lot. So I'm sorry for Gustafson that it's harder now on the 4th best team in the NHL, but I think he would have some understanding if he were to be healthied fairly regularly, no?
Okay, like I can think of 2 right off the bat players I'd rather have Morgan Riley with. I can't think of too many I would not rather have him with than
Is he
Gustafson.
with him though?
Is he, you?
He's drawn up there with him, yeah.
All I see is I do see Gustafson and Riley.
Yeah.
According to the lines today.
Yeah.
Right side,
Nightmare.
left shot. Not known for his own zone.
Oh, he's known for it. Just not in the way you want him to be known for.
He's
Okay.
infamous.
Good point. I mean, I don't understand this one. Liljegren to me or Brody right now to help him out.
So I put on Twitter today, people are complaining about Kerfoot playing with Matthews and Marner.
Hi, I'm people.
Hi there, people. And I think our boy Jake Beliefs tweeted something to the effect that like Fraser McLaren had a higher points per 60 than Kerfoot does.
Yes.
So the question is, coaches who fall in love with a player and play them to a degree where you think the team would just be better off if they took that player away from the coach. I don't know if
Whoa.
I don't know if Kerfoot.
God bless you.
Thank you. I don't know if Kerfoot is that for Keith exactly, but can you think of any guys that, of this throughout history? I put it in my Twitter feed. The amount of responses are unbelievable for people saying, yeah, this coach just fell in love with this guy. A lot of Sutter and Lucic, where you might be better off if you didn't have a guy in the lineup. Babs.
Who are we talking about?
Just is there any coaches that you can think about
Yes.
that fall in love with one player
Yes,
to a degree where it
always.
hurts their lineup?
Always you go, okay, like enough of that guy.
Yeah, and Kerfoot has become that here for the Leafs.
Okay.
Has he? Is he not?
Yes. Yeah. But again, beggars can't be choosers when you look at that left wing side.
No.
But I mean, the decision to go to 7D, let's just say for 1 second that you don't move Sandine for Gustafson. Is there any world that you would have seen now Sheldon go to 7D with Sandine in the lineup?
No, because the relationship was no good in my outside view.
Yeah.
They're trying to make these new guys give them a chance
and
to fit in.
Gustafson, you fell in love with Gustafson so fast. What are you getting out of Gustafson?
They're doing the thing they always do.
Right.
What we talked about yesterday with Nyes. What we talked about with, like, listen, I know
He's
he's
like
not,
us.
I know he's not playing on the top line or playing 25 minutes a night or whatever. It's not the same situation as playing on the top line. But a guy that comes in here and is not one of your best 6 guys, pretty clearly, right? They have 6 guys that are ahead of him.
Yes.
Probably 7 with Luke Shen, who is not available because of still baby-related reasons. They're playing him for the sake of playing him to make him feel welcome and get him in the mix and get him in the mix. It's like, well, it's frustrating to me that they're doing this.
Yeah. Shen's not available, hey?
No, he's still in Vancouver, apparently.
Let's listen to what Sheldon had to say about Luke Shen.
No update other than to say that he's still home in Vancouver
There you
with
go.
his wife, and nothing's changed there. They're still on baby watch, and it's a difficult situation in terms of him and joining the team and such, because it's so far away, and it's so important that he's there for his family. So it's a tricky one to navigate here, but obviously what's most important is that he's there for his wife and his family, and we're in full support of that. He's remaining on the ice and staying ready and such, and once there's some movement there, then he'll rejoin the team.
Yeah, that's hard too. I mean, it's hard as is this time of year, getting traded and uprooting.
Yeah.
Now Luke's got to deal with that,
Yeah.
right? People got to remember that's not an
brutal.
easy thing to do.
And like, maybe it's a good thing for an older guy like Luke, have a little bit of rest here at this time of year before a grueling playoff battle. But the distance is a good point. Like, you can't put your wife on a plane and bring her out here at that point. You're not going to drive across the country. You just kind of have to be there. So it is what it is on that one. And I mean, hey, what would they do if he was here? Play 8? I mean, he can't get in anyway. Works for him just fine right now.
All right. We got Keith on Austin Matthews, or you want to sit on that one?
Well, I mean, it's just he's talking about how he thought he looked hurt against Vancouver, and he thought he looked better against. It's an interesting clip, and he mentions Kerfoot in it, so I want to play it. So
Okay.
We'll play it quickly before we get to Bundy.
Just from me watching, I think it was very clear it was impacting and affecting his skating in Vancouver in particular. I felt in New Jersey, in fact, he looked to be skating as well as he skied in a long time. And I think it's not necessarily even because of the leg or the shot block or anything like that, but more so just the way the game went. His line came out of their own zone and through the neutral zone with a lot of speed. And I think that's part of what Kerfoot brings to that group, is his ability to make a play and then break out and get us through the neutral zone and get Austin skating. And I thought he was flying through the neutral zone, so I had sort of forgotten about the fact that he was nursing something like that. But I do know from some experience that those things do take some time to really go away, but didn't seem to be affecting his ability to really push the pace the other night.
Kerfoot drives him through the neutral zone and makes him fly up the ice.
To me, he just put that in there just to justify
Kerfoot.
himself. He's like, you see? He's like, Austin was so hurt, and the only thing that could fix him. It's like the
Flex seal.
It's like
Flex foot.
It's like you love Will Ferrell, Kyper. It's like Saturday Night Live. More cowbell.
Yeah.
Just, more cowbell. Ding,
More
ding,
Kerfoot.
ding,
Yeah.
ding, ding. Oh
Solution.
my God.
Yeah, there's no question that was manipulated, that comment,
Yeah.
for the sole purpose.
He's feeling
It's
it.
like, I know I'm going to hear about this, but, he can't say, what do you want me to do, guys? What do you want me to do?
Anyone else?
It's so who is that then?
Yarn
Croc?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yarn Croc would make you happier with Matthews and Marner.
Matthew Nice. Matthew Nice. Matthew Nice.
Bring us the boy.
Okay, what's the deal? Are they in the Final Four or something now? What's going on?
I don't know. I'm not keeping an eye. I'm trying not to really think about Matt Nyes until it's here. I don't want to hype it up anymore. I don't want to think about it a whole lot until
You
he
want him
arrives.
knocked out, though, right?
Oh yeah, I'm go whoever Minnesota's playing.
Oh, 100%.
Let's see. Let's see when Minnesota. What are they? The Badgers, right?
No, the Golden Gophers.
All right.
No, they're the Badgers.
Oh,
Oh,
don't question me. I played in their division.
why did I think they're the Badgers?
Wisconsin?
So we
Okay.
got Chris Terrian
Yeah, I'll call him now.
in a minute or so. We're gonna
I'll give him a call.
We're gonna lock down Chris Terrian. He's gonna have a wonderful, crisp line, so Sammy could play out the rest of the week.
There should be like a prize for a perfect week for Sammy, like staying employed or.
And for sure, Doug McLean's
Little
going to
Buddha.
come in and out on a few
But that's
sentences.
Doug's fault. Doug tends to hit an island in the Caribbean for a phone call.
Stauffer's going to come up in the second hour. You know what we're going to do in the second hour?
Oh God.
We're gonna put all the Leaf numbers in my hat, and we're gonna draw
And see if the lines make more sense.
Yes. Okay, we're gonna do Sheldon's bingo bango balls,
Okay.
and we're gonna hand pick a line. 3 lines, 3.5 lines,
Whatever they got.
whatever they got, and we're gonna see if our line comes up better than his for tomorrow night.
I'm worried for him. There was a really good article once. Or do we have Bundy before I go on? All right.
All right. I wonder if Bundy picked lines out of a hat that ended up being better than Torts this season. Let's welcome in him, Chris Terrian, former Flyer defenseman. Snow the Goalie, a podcast that is number 1 in our books. I don't know how it's doing on the charts, but we're happy to have you on board here. Bundy, how are you, pal?
Doing good, Chipper. Good to be on with you guys. Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't. This is odd times again, but there had to be somewhere to start to get things right again, and it was just too much, guys. I think from I think the fans. I gotta tip my hat a little bit to the fans here. I mean, this is something that started, I think, after I know Torch was calm with the trade deadline. He didn't really find too much humor in the fact that people were really drawing their ire towards Chuck for the failure of the deadline and not getting rid of Van Dreams. Like, again, I don't want to just throw that one thing out, but that seemed to be like there had to be a stick that broke the camel's back type of moment, and that's, for me, might have been it. I mean, those are the type of things that you got to probably do work on long before, and even when you get up against it, I mean, you got a guy who's here, you're trying to dump some salary. You probably would take a stick bag for him in 2027 if you could get that. But, again, that was a product of the system at the end where, I think other teams look to, and in fairness to what Torch said, I mean, where can you use him? That's essentially what I said in plain English is you can't play him on the top 2 lines of a Stanley Cup contender, and you're sure the hell not going to play him on the bottom 2. So where does he fit in your lineup? And then there was, the other stuff that just went on. I just think, guys, it's just been a body of work over the course of a few years where the Flyers fans, and this has been an organization that looks and feels very kicked in the last 3 years. And and I'll be honest with you, the fans were looking for a body somehow, some way. And I think it was a matter of them getting to Dave Scott and say, listen, we got to do something here because – when you start going to town halls, and it wouldn't be the first GM boot at one of these guys, but, I mean, it was as loud, and then they started to bring the house down on just about everybody. And I think when you open your eyes to that, it's pretty obvious what's going on, and that changes need to happen.
Yeah, once the people who pay the bills, as in buy the tickets, have spoken that publicly, it's not a good look. Do you think that, I know that Fletcher had some bad luck with injuries. I think Nolan Patrick was hurt all the time, and they had Ryan Ellis thing. He was hurt all the time. But, do you think this is ownership dictated where he would have wanted to rebuild it and start over, but instead was kind of forced into this half retool thing that never really took?
That's a really, really good question. And I'm going to go with the no on that. That is not, no, I don't think so. I think Chuck was pretty stubborn in his own right. Again, I'd like to find out more. I think what happens after something like this goes down, you start to get a little bit more truths come out. I'd like to know who advised them on these signings, long-term deals. He acquired injured guys. You can blame the Nolan Patrick on Rod Hextall. You can say what you want about it. It didn't work out. It's super unfortunate. It sets your franchise back in depth of years. You can't make up for your number 2 pick not panning out. But the other guys that they got here, you know what, guys? We acquired injured players.
Right.
We signed guys that were here a while that had some broken down parts of them to long-term contracts. This is a team to be just quite honest with you, it's still like this is one thing that happened. I said it was like an asteroid hitting the Earth. You know, the first thing that happens is the asteroid hitting the Earth, and then there's a million other things that happen in the months after.
Yeah.
You know, that goes around it. So, you know, how do you get out of the cap hell? How do you get out of improving your roster if you've got salary guys that nobody wants because either they're paid too much or they're injured and you don't know the standing of their health? And they have a ton of those guys that you really hitched your wagons to. You know, again, and I said it early in the year, guys, if some other guy was healthy or a couple more guys were healthy, still don't think it was going to make a difference at the end result of this team. This is not a team that was going to all of a sudden get 2 or 3 of those guys back, and next thing you know, they're third in the conference. It's just not happening. It wasn't realistic. I've been honest for 3 years since I saw the 2020 bubble game in the Game 7, and even going back to the Giroux years. They needed to tell their fans in probably 2019 at the latest, we need to start rebuilding. We need to have the vision to rebuild. Stand with us. I know maybe you're not expecting it. The retool would have been the easy thing to do. The hard thing is to say we're going to rebuild and then go and execute the plan and do it right. But I don't think that I think a little bit of what you said is true. They probably said, hey, listen, we need to make sure that, you know, the corporate side saying we want to have the building filled. But I don't think that was the case by the signings that Chuck made and the long-term extended contracts that he gave to some guys that there's a lot of question marks to right now.
We're talking to Chris Therien, former Flyer defenseman who does a terrific job covering the Philadelphia Flyers. Big news today, Chuck Fletcher out as general manager, Danny Briere in as interim. I'm just wondering, Bundy, about the timing and all of this. There was heat months ago to get rid of Chuck Fletcher. Now you're in under 18 games to go, maybe a handful at home. Why now, a week after a trade deadline? Why not just hang on for a few more games and then just clean this up in the summertime? Is it the trade deadline? Is it not getting rid of JVR was the driving nail here?
No, I think it was accumulation of stuff, Nick. Like, we've talked now for a couple of years, and there's been a lot of weird stuff that have gone on. And, you know, I think last year was kind of the eye-opener to people where, like, wow, like, there's people are stopping coming. The building was as empty as I'd seen it. By the way, that side of things has changed. The business side has done a really great job. And where we're hoping the hockey side would come together, it appears to be a disconnect to some degree. But at the same time, like, at the end of the day, it's about the product on the ice. You know, all the other things are fine and dandy and everything, and people's opinions and you know, visions of, we should do this or that. But at the end of the day, this is a real hockey market that the fans are very passionate about, and they want to see a good team with hopes of doing well in the spring, in the tournament. And that's really where they're at, and they haven't seen it. And I think the biggest frustration from where I look at the fans and even my end is, what was the plan here? Like, I don't know what the plan is. And I think that frustration mounted, and I'm sure over the course of the last few days, the senior people, not the advisors, senior business side have made the decision that they were going to move on from Chuck. Interestingly enough, though, if you're a new guy coming in, like if you're a Briere and you're in there as an interim to find out what you can do, this is really an odd stage to give a guy a glimpse because this is probably the deadest 2 months of the year in the National Hockey League. It's not trades. There's really, maybe minor deals in the playoffs sometimes that sneak by you don't even pay attention to. But, it's just a very, very interesting time for anybody to try to give a guy a glimpse because I'm not really sure that he can do anything up until probably before the draft. And that's maybe the next time that the GM will have a look at what to do with this club.
Yeah, maybe that gives them a little bit of runway to get to know the names of the people who do things around there and figure out the whole job. And after that, though, I wonder what you think is going to happen in terms of what his interests are. Like, John Tortorella is a very particular type of guy for a very particular type of GM. Is this someone that Danny Briere is also going to want to help run the organization? I should note, he's done a tremendous job. He's probably had them outperform their true talent, but I am curious to know what comes next for Torts.
Yeah, well, guys, that's another part of it for me. Like, I didn't even get into Torts yet. Like, when they hired him last summer, I knew the team was below mediocre. And I knew that Torts would actually put them in a spot that was going to be one of the worst in the league.
Right.
He was going to leave them about 7th or 8th left in the league, stuck right between 17 and 25. That's again, a GM making a mistake. Why would you better your value of your team by the coach when the talent level doesn't dictate that? If you're going to tank, just be tanked all the way and be bad, and just let the players take care of it themselves, like Chicago or Anaheim or Columbus. I don't think Columbus saw that. Made sure and not gotten Gaudreau in the summer to make sure they would have absolutely had that one pick. But, again, those are all speculative stuff. But that was absolutely, Torts has done a good job here with this team.
Too good.
Not everybody likes perhaps the way he's done it, but he's done it in a way that he's done it his whole career, and he's made the team better than they were supposed to be.
Too good. He took him out of Connor Bedard.
He did. He messed it up.
Well, there's people that would say that, and again, I'm not one of those people that like to live at the coin flip or percentages, but he certainly removed them from the equation of having a better chance. When you know by December just how bad you are, you're kind of saying, at that time, and you got 4 guys in a draft that apparently are really, really bona fide talents. You think to yourself, well, how do I get to that point? It's like the reverse of winning, except you can't do that in certain markets, and you sure the hell can't do that in Philadelphia.
All right, pal. Well, listen, I know it was short notice getting you on, but it was great getting some detail on big news in Philadelphia. And this probably takes a lot of heat off the Comcast group, correct?
I would think so, yeah, for sure. I mean, at least it gives them a little bit more runway. Because I will say it again, the experience at the games has been good this year. I railed against them for a couple of years. Our guys on the thing did just from the changes, but it's been different. It's been a lot of fun at the games. There's been that relic, a little touch to the past, but they've got to move into the future with a team that this city can be proud of. The Philadelphia Flyers are an important team in the National Hockey League, and when they're better, it makes for, I think, the product in the league to be better. They're just that valued of a franchise.
Absolutely. Really appreciate your time, man. Thanks for doing this, Chris Therien.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Good detail, good energy, good interview. What did you think? We haven't talked about the replacing of Chuck Fletcher.
Well, first of all,
not in depth.
I think Daniel Briere will fall exactly the way.
Popular guy today, Kippy.
I know. I'm gonna shut it off.
It's trade deadline every day.
Just can you guys remind me to put silent on before the show? You don't have many jobs to do. And by the way, Chris Therien kind of came in and out.
I know, Kippy.
I thought you were done.
Kippy, I am
sweating.
My palms right now are drenched.
Daniel Briere will fall into Tommy Fitzgerald and Kevin Adams, right? Both of them kind of don't really know much about them in this kind of scope, and we're going to dip our toe in the water with the interim. No question, he's going to be the guy.
Interim makes me crazy. Like, what would he have to do to not get the job? The team is currently bad. How does he show what? What can he do to not become the actual GM? So interim bothers me. Just give the guy the job. But I am curious about the Torts thing. Not that I think he'll outright fire him. Torts has done a good job, but are they going to try to turn around and be good now? They're going to try to be good next year?
Yeah.
Or are they going to try to lose, in which case they don't feel like Torts helps them because he has helped them? I don't know.
Yeah. I know he mentioned that it's going to be quiet 2 months here, but when you need to alleviate money and work on deals, and Kevin Hayes is a prime example, another $7 million guy that they tried to get rid of at the trade deadline. It's just too hard. But if you want to come back now and move him in the summer or get rid of that, you got to start putting the work in now.
Mm-hmm. And Hayes has a no trade that kicks in this summer?
I think so.
Because if you're the Flyers, you want nothing to do with that Hayes contract now. He's where he is in his career arc. I think it's $7 million.
JVR's done, right? He's at the end.
Correct.
But Kevin Hayes is at $7 million.
He is at that.
And I know they put him on the All-Star game this year, which was great for him and his family, and you love that, but
he has 3 seasons after this one. It's 7.14.
Wow.
So, and he's 30 years old right now. And I don't think he had the best season. Yeah, JVR's up.
What would you
Hayes.
think before a team would look at Kevin Hayes?
Hayes has 49 points in 64 games on a crummy team. It's pretty good.
But it's like you're envisioning now. Can he help you win as a contending team?
Yeah.
So, but what is that? Like how much would you have to shave off that
To me,
to bring him
he's
in?
a Nick Foligno type.
Four.
Without the edge.
Can you eat 40% of that contract?
Comcast want to pay $3 million to someone for nothing? Probably not. But yeah, it might be better than having him.
Like Daniel Briere and his staff may need to make 100 calls between now and the NHL draft.
Well, and at the draft, they have, 8 picks or 9 picks this year. So just like to welcome the people on Fan 590 just joining us after the Blue Jays
Yes.
game.
After another blistering 2.5-hour baseball game for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Rob Manfred, the president.
It's a lock now, eh? 2.5 hours.
Yesterday was 2:05, Kev.
No.
Yes.
Oh, delightful.
So yeah, welcome.
They might kick it back to a 16-second clock. They're like, we're not trying to do 90 minutes.
What's Sportsnet going to do every night in the summer with all that extra time?
More Kyper and Bourne reruns.
Yeah, I was talking about the.
More Ken and Ivanka.
There it is.
More Ken and Ivanka.
But-
Sure that's in their contract.
But it is a lot for the Philadelphia Flyers to try to figure out what comes next.
Like if I was
This roster, boys, it is lean. Oh, lean?
I don't know how you don't trade Konechny. I don't know how at the deadline. I don't know how you don't trade. I know you think JVR stinks, but get a sixth, get a fifth, get something. Like you don't think there's anyone that will give anything.
But to your point, he also didn't trade Kevin Hayes. He also didn't trade Konechny. Like
trade
they
them
have
all.
guys. Yeah.
You suck. You're going nowhere, and those guys are too old. Like by the time you're good,
Can that market withstand 2 years of just being really bad? 2 more years of being really bad?
They have no contracts that are that significant up front aside from Hayes. Like Farabee makes $5 million. After that, the next highest deal is $3 million up front. It's on the back end where they've got issues. They're paying Ristolainen 5.1 until 27.
why did they do
D'Angelo's
that?
making 5 sheets.
That
Sanheim
was-
makes 6.2.
A disaster
But it was.
trade.
I know you're not an analytics guy, but I can't remember a time when the analytics community so clearly came together and said, that's the worst deal we've ever seen. He was, by some metrics, one of the worst defenders at the time of the deal, and they gave him $30 million.
Why does Joel Farabee make $5 million until 27, 28?
So you don't have anyone. You talk yourself into people.
Sean Couturier, like, where is that guy? He also is on a new deal, is he not? And he's got like multiple back issues.
He's on 7.7.
Yeah, see, I
Tell
missed some
me, what
guys
is
that
that?
were on. He's
What-
making 7.75 until 2028.
Oh,
You don't like
but
that one?
they could.
Atkinson's
is-
hurt. Konechny's hurt.
Is
right
he
now.
scheduled to come back and play again, or is
Why
it?
would he? What's he coming back for? Get healthy.
Actually,
No, I'm just saying. Is it career ending?
I don't know about that.
Situation
Not sure
here.
with
Is
him.
his career in jeopardy with multiple back issues? I guess.
he is actually an excellent hockey player.
Great.
When he's healthy,
no question.
he's,
Would've
he's
loved him.
really good.
He seems like someone Tampa would have.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ellis also makes 6.25 until 2027.
Another bad
he's,
back, I
He's
think.
maybe career ending.
Why? I am confounded by this cat-friendly page.
It's the worst
Looking at it. It's
mess
I-
outside of the Canucks.
I don't like any of their players, and they have no cap space. I don't get
That's
it.
in Montreal. Montreal was up against the cap, but they're terrible.
Yeah, but at least they're
doing it the right
they're
thing.
sucking.
They're
on
clearly
purpose.
got a direction.
Yeah. So
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll get out and we'll bring back Doug McLean for his segment. Also, in the second hour, we're going to take some tweets or some YouTube
text
questions.
590-590. Text us there.
and before we go to break, since we're back on Sportsnet 590 The Fan, it's time for some rivalry train action.
Ooh,
boys.
big bar set yesterday to clear.
Oh boy, here we go now. Molson Canadian wants to give you and a friend the ultimate hockey fan experience through their Molson Canadian Rivalry Train contest. This includes a round trip train from Toronto to Ottawa to go see your Leafs take on the Sens on April 1st, with food and beverage included at the game, as well as overnight hotel accommodation. To enter, all you have to do is listen to today's code word and then text it to 590-590. Today's code word is Ottawa. Text Ottawa to 590 right now for your chance to win. This is your last chance to enter, so be sure to text in Ottawa to 590 right now. You must be at least 19 years of age in Ontario to enter.
Didn't you get a guy begging you for the mystery word?
Yeah, I got a
because
couple
he missed
DMs.
it?
He's like, I swear to God, I've been listening since 3 p.m.
You know, that read is a little bit like Augusta National in that once you get through the early part, I think you're okay. Like round trip train comes early, and if you get through round trip train, that's the fourth hole. I think it's easier after
I just got once I get to the text, it's like I'm on 13. I'm making an eagle.
Got a couple of, you can get a couple back there.
Although they lengthened.
The dumbest
13.
thing I've ever heard.
It's like,
Who wants to see Tiger going for it in two?
It's the most exciting shot in the history of golf. Let's make it a layup. That's what everybody wants.
I hope that doesn't happen.
Well.
Okay, let's take a quick break. Doug McLean, when we come back, we'll get his thoughts on 11-7 out of the Toronto Maple Leafs and how many times he did that in his career. Doug McLean and more Real Kyper and Bourne after these words.
Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Fridays like this hurt even more knowing where our next guest is.
Closer to that than that.
He's not far off the players in where Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And I'm really hoping it's about 62 and overcast and cold
That sounds great to me.
where our next guest is, but it's miserable up here. Snowing, cold. Come on, Mac. Tell me you're basking in terrible weather, please.
That's funny you say that because I just barely turned the air conditioner up a little higher. It's so damn hot here.
There you
It
go.
is so hot. I told you I played in that tournament last week or the other day. It was 5 hours. It was so hot. But I came in second. We got second place, so it made it feel a little cooler when I was getting my gifts.
You're having sort of a athletic renaissance these days, Doug, between pickleball and golf and yoga and all this, aren't you?
Well, you know what? I figured out today why I do this show. It just hit me. I was reading a study, a Harvard study on retirement, and they said the number one thing in retirement that you miss. It's not the money, it's not the work. It's the relationships you had at work that you really desperately miss. And I thought, that's why I'm doing this damn show.
I heard a lot of relationships improved at Sportsnet once you left.
Yeah. They improved so much, even the boss left.
How is the relationship with the Philadelphia Flyers? Have you ever seen a general manager get fired a week after a trade deadline?
That's a new one for me. But you know what? When you're in trouble when you get booed at the season ticket renewal party when they introduce you. You know things aren't that good. I remember when I was sitting in the press box looking down and I saw two guys on our glass seats, which were expensive seats in Columbus, with bags on their head that I was in trouble. So it's very similar than when you get booed at a season ticket renewal function. So it's been coming, and it's too bad. I mean, but, you go through a trade deadline, and then you make the change. I mean, I guess you might as well wait till the end of the year. But obviously the criticism is, they've been after Chuck for a year or more in Philly. They're a tough group. Fans are tough there, and it's been a horrible 4-year run for him. It really has.
And how much of that do you attribute to luck versus just him not doing a great job? They've certainly had their share of injuries over that time. Has it just been bad luck?
Well, I don't, I think they went with the idea first that they were going to retool, which is the in vogue rule of word. And then I think he got halfway through the retool, and then he decides they've got to rebuild. And in the meantime, you hired Tortorella. Like, I'm not sure he's the guy you want for a rebuild with patience. So, you know what? I think he got caught in between there. And, is it bad luck? Anytime you get fired, it's a little bit of bad luck. And hey, guys, it's a tough gig. It really is a tough gig. I'm telling you. But I've told you guys all along, and nobody ever believes me on this. I watched a game last night, Boston Bruins and Edmonton Oilers. The Boston Bruins have 12 of their own draft picks in their lineup, and the Edmonton Oilers have 10 of their own draft picks in the lineup. And to me, Edmonton's got to be considered a favorite in the West with the way teams are playing out there, because they haven't been very good the West. And Boston looks like they could be a favorite. I mean, and these teams that keep trading away their picks, like what did Chuck give up to get D'Angelo when it was a useless pickup? Why would you even go there? And then I look and see what the kid did in Washington last night with the Leafs. Why do you even go there? By the way, Kip, Howard Berger accused you of being a homer today.
Throwaway end of thought note.
See, that's why it's off the rails Friday. When you can go from one thought to, oh, by the way, Howard Berger threw me under the bus.
Well, you know what the good thing is? He lists everybody that got fired at Sportsnet, and he keeps leaving my name off. So that's how much he's forgot about me.
Oh, you're a beauty. Getting it back on the rails here for a second. When you think about guys like Tom Fitzgerald coming in and Kevin Adams in Buffalo and now Daniel Briere, it's one thing to come in and, get acclimated and get your feet wet. And it's another one to have a guy like Tortorella right beside you. I mean, how big of a challenge is it for Daniel Briere to know that, even if I wanted to get rid of this guy, I don't think I have that power.
Well, and I've heard that Briere will probably be the guy that gets the job. He's been in the organization for a long time, and he's been, looks like he's been groomed for this role. So, if he wants it, I hope he gets a chance at it. He's he's been a good player, but also a pretty good guy. So, I don't know. I mean, Tortorella's funny. I think the one thing, I don't know that you can ever say that Tortorella's not a loyal guy. I've never heard a GM ever say that he wasn't a loyal guy. So I don't know, but it's just that his expectations at this stage in his career probably aren't to go through a rebuild.
No.
That's the only challenge that I can see there.
I don't think it has to do with loyalty, but just the mere fact that Tortorella has so much power. Much when I look at Daryl Sutter in Calgary, and at times I'm sure between Daryl and Brad Treliving and now, Daniel Briere to come in and say, okay, the shape of the team and what we want to look like and the players that you want to coach. It gets tougher when you have the clout of a Tortorella or a Sutter to deal with.
Well, the clout typically comes with contract and term of contract. And you can say that about Daryl Sutter because he's on a new 3-year deal, apparently. And Treliving's deal is expired, or it's up in June. Briere would come in with a new contract, which I suspect is a longer term than Tortorella's. Tortorella's at a stage. Why would you fight the GM at this stage of his career? It's probably his last job. I don't know that that's going to be a problem. I never heard of Kekalainen ever had a problem with Tortorella or vice versa. So I don't see that being an issue.
But what about a philosophy of players, though, Mac? Who you want, who you don't want, who you like, who you don't like.
That's the challenge, and sometimes that's tough. But that's the GM's job. That's not the coach's job. That's the GM's job and the hockey operations group. And that's always a battle between the coach and the GM, especially if the coach has too much power. But the job of the GM is to put the team together, sure, with consultation with the coach. But it's the end of the day, it's got to be the GM's job. Listen, Scotty Bowman, every day in Detroit, in his first year with Brian Murray, every day after practice, brought a list of 5 names he wanted hired up to Brian. He wanted traded every day after practice. And the number one guy on the list every time was Steve Yzerman. Okay? So, you've got to – coaches get high and low on players, and that's why the GM's role in player acquisition has got to be in the GM's hands. Now, Stevie didn't get traded. Luckily for Scotty, he got to win a couple more Stanley Cups, So.
Well, the coach has to deal with what the GM provides him. We're looking at the Toronto Maple Leafs today, and they're once again going 11 forwards and 7D. Gustafsson will be in. And then that leaves a first line right now, Kerfoot with Matthews and Marner. Lafferty, Yarncroc, and Nylander. What are your thoughts on how the Leafs are deploying their lines here as they, in the lead up to playoffs?
Well, I mean, they're doing it because of the injury and a couple of injuries. That's the main reason why they're doing it. But I don't like the look of it. And to me, I don't get the Gustafsson trade. I can't for the life of me figure that out. I've talked to people that have watched him play a lot this year, and they tell me he's been awful and that he can't really play. And I'm thinking, what was that move all about? You know, to give up on a young draft pick. By the way, they've gone from 10 draft picks, the Leafs, to now down to 6 or 7. So if my philosophy works out right, they don't win the cup. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, but we'll see. Anyway, I don't get that move, and I'm not a Gustafsson fan. So, and I'm certainly not a fan of Kerfoot on the first line. I mean, third line maybe, but not the first line.
Nylander, Lafferty, and Yarncroc had a good game against New Jersey. It looks like they're slotted as the second line, which leaves Bunting and Tavares floating a little bit here. Would Tavares have his nose?
Nick, don't tell me that's the second line. That's a makeshift second line. That's got to be the third line you just named. Seriously.
No, it looks like it's the second line.
Yeah, well, it's the second line with a number, but it's not a second line. I know you're a big Lafferty fan for whatever reason, but it's not a second line. Sorry.
Would Tavares have some issues here if he gets bounced around a little bit?
You know what I mean? Guys have pride. I mean, I watched his numbers, you know, when O'Reilly come in and he drops down like, 4 minutes a game almost? I mean, do you think that doesn't piss him off? I got to believe it does. I mean, you know, he's an $11 million player, and he's already behind Matthews and Marner for me anyway, but you know, to drop down that kind of minutes, I wouldn't think he'd be very happy about it. And you know what? He's been a good player for the Leafs, Tavares. I say what you want. He's been a good player for them. So, yeah, he wouldn't be happy. I mean, I know he's a team guy, but team guy ends when your ice time drops 4 or 5 minutes. If it goes up 4 or 5 minutes, you become a better team guy.
Yeah. It's that simple.
So the immediate opposition for the Maple Leafs is the Tampa Bay Lightning, who have 3 wins in their last 10 games. They're punching everyone in the face. Kind of a different look lately out of the Bolts. What are your thoughts on, I don't know, they're reeling a little bit.
The Brawlers.
Yeah.
Well, I told you last week I was nervous about their goaltending because it has not been very good. It really hasn't. Everybody's raving about Cooper benching his superstars. I've never seen that works very often for very long. Don't think that Kucherov and Point and Stamkos would not be pissed off about that. You know, there's some things aren't rosy there right now. It's the same as things aren't rosy in Colorado. You know, so what gives with these teams? I mean, they've got a short period of time to get ready for you know, to go to a whole nother level at playoff time. So you don't like to be reeling this time of year, no doubt about it.
Doesn't really matter anyways for Tampa or even Toronto, because I'm watching Sportsnet last night and everybody had the Edmonton Oilers versus the Boston Bruins for the Stanley Cup final.
Oh, my God, I sent that tweet out last night. It was, like, unbelievable. I said, could this be a possible Stanley Cup final? But interesting, who do you pick in the West? Like, I look at L.A. Kings. L.A. Kings are a pretty good hockey team right now. I see Deneau gets the 17th and 18th of the year last year, a valuable guy that went from Montreal there. They're a pretty good team right now. The Gavrikop's playing well on the blue line for them. I mean, Korpisalo's giving them some good goaltending. By the way, I pulled a fast one on Rimmer yesterday.
Jeff Rimmer?
I sent a note and I said, Jeff, even Bruce doesn't want to play in Columbus. And he phones me. He said, Bruce, what do you mean? Who? Bruce who? I said, Bruce Springsteen canceled his concert last night at Nationwide Arena because he was sick. Oh, he was so upset about that. But anyway, that's, you know.
COVID, I think.
I don't know what it was, but he canceled in Columbus, and I thought, oh, my God, even he doesn't want to go there. But, I mean, look, got to fix that real fast because they're going to get Bedard, and that's my prediction, Bedard to Columbus, and then things will take off.
Just watching last night, and I'm watching Ekholm hammer a few guys on the blue line, and could one guy make that big of a difference, Mac, for Edmonton? Because last night I'm like envisioning Edmonton playing that game without him, and man, he was that big of a difference maker for me.
I think it was a great move, and look, he's always been a real good player in Nashville, and Kenny has desperately needed that component. I had heard he was in the Chychrun sweepstakes, and I thought, okay, that would be good as well. But I mean, to pick up Ekholm at this time of year, to go with the young blue liners he's got there, I think it's a really good move for them. And yeah, it made a difference to their team. Their team played a tighter defensive game. I mean, they were good throughout that game last night. I know get down to a 2-0 lead, but they shut the neutral zone down really well last night. They were checking well. They were responsible. Skinner started off slow and comes back with a good, solid performance to end the game. So, hey, I look at the West and I'm thinking, okay, LA's playing pretty good. Colorado's up and down. Edmonton's got the talent. How do you look by Edmonton? I know their goaltending is a major question mark. I get that. But who else in the West are you going to pick to come out of the West? Seriously. When I look at it, there's not much to pick from, is there?
No, it's Edmonton and Colorado for me. Minnesota's on a roll here. They 8-0-2 in the last 10, but they don't score.
Yeah.
So
they don't. But, you're right on that. That's a 13. But, I mean, I'm thinking this is a pretty thin group. So I'm thinking watching Boston and them last night, ooh, wow. And, I mean, who knows how far Boston's going, but they look pretty good and pretty deep. Although I love Montgomery's comments. We were totally outplayed. We were totally outchecked. We were totally this and totally that. I'm thinking, what? You've only lost 3 games in regulation. Relax, for God's sake. Oh, my God, I couldn't believe that. What goes on with these guys? Relax. You've lost 3 games in regulation all year.
Do you worry about their goalies at all, having no experience? Allmark has 2 playoff games, both losses in his career.
Well, I mean, I said that about Jack Campbell when he came to Toronto, so I guess I have to say it about Linus. But, I mean, I'm shocked at how good that goaltending's been. I would have thought that was a concern. Allmark has been lights out all year. Hardly has had a bad game. So it's hard to go against him. But the experience is something you can't look past. I looked at it with Jack Campbell a couple of years ago. We've said it about Freddie Anderson for years. Although he's had some good experience, but always get hurt. So there's big tests all over the league when it comes to that. Big tests on goaltending.
Listen, Toronto tomorrow night. Toronto and Edmonton, similar scenarios with unproven goaltenders this time of year. And I didn't like the first 2 goals Skinner let in last night, and it could have been down 3-0 if it wasn't for an offside by a whisker.
Yeah.
So. But he did bounce back. He came. Yeah. He showed up when the game was still on the line.
And he's done that a lot for them this year. He's bounced back a lot. I mean, from taking the number 1 job, then Campbell gets a little bit hot. I mean, that's still a big question mark. But if you're looking at them in LA, there's still a question mark with that. Marc-Andre Fleury in Minnesota. You got to say there's a question mark there as well. He's been up and down in his last number of years, and especially at playoff time. So there's questions on the West and the goaltending all the way around. And then you say Boston's inexperienced. Vasilevsky looks like the best of anybody still. And then you go to Carolina and you say, what about their goaltending? You're just not 100% sure about their goaltending. Jersey, are you sure about their goaltending? I meing, it's all around. I love Jersey's team with 11 draft picks on it, by the way, and I love how they play, and I love the speed they play, but their goaltending's a question mark as well.
How big was Ottawa's win last night against Seattle?
Yeah, it was a huge win, and now they've got to go with the 2 kids in goal essentially for the rest of the season, and they're lucky that their core group. I'll tell you what, this Stützle is something else. I saw Mark Mathot make a comment the other day. Mark's, by the way, a draft pick of the Columbus Blue Jackets, a 6th-round pick, a great player, and a great kid. Makes a comment he'd rather have Stützle than Matthews. Oh, my God, did he get hammered by Leaf fans. But you know what? Stützle's turned out, we talked about him the other day, Stützle and Tkachuk, you talk about 2 great young, talented players. I mean, really. it's hard to believe how good they've become and how important they've become. And that group of players, now if they just do as I told you, put Red Kelly Jr. up on the wing, they'd be better. But maybe
we
not.
know what that means now.
No, but you know what? Ottawa's a fun team to watch, Nick. They really are. They're a fun team to watch. And you know what? I hope the kids can keep them in the mix. And then I look at what about Pittsburgh? I was texting with Berkey last night before the game, and I thought, oh man, you need a win tonight, and then they lose it in overtime, blow a 3-1 lead. So there's so many teams around the league that are just giving it up at the wrong times,
All right. Well, listen, I thought your golf game has improved so much I'd actually see you on TV playing in the Players right now.
You know what? I hit an 81 on Sunday, and I made $4.
Is that gas money for the RV?
No gas money. It's away right now. Anyway, lots of fun. No, it's good. It's so nice talking to you guys. And again, I really appreciate the relationship building.
Us too. It's the camaraderie among friends that means so much to us, Doug.
Now, you read that Harvard study. It's really, really important. It's really important in your retirement years. So I appreciate you guys having me on.
Well, listen, seems to be working for you. Not us at times during this segment, but it's working for you.
And you know what? Howard Berger was right, by the way. You caved to the Leafs. You caved like the rest of the Toronto media. You caved.
All right. Good way to leave the segment. Doug MacLean, former NHL president, GM, head coach, and ball buster.
Yeah. I'd say there's a lot of Leafs fans out there who disagree with Doug that you've caved.
I don't know if Howard kind of read my article correctly.
Listen.
I wasn't saying that Austin's the second best player in the world now. I had this conversation all season long. He needs to get back to that place. When he is at the top of his game, it's him and McDavid, is it not?
He just won all the trophies. I don't think it's ridiculous to imply he's in the handful of people.
Kyper, Berger must be just a reader and not a listener, because if he listened to the show, calling you a
think
whore.
He's the second best player on the team.
Howard did imply that whoever hired me at the Toronto Star should get a raise, though. Howard's in my good books.
I think we should all just get a raise. It's just a quick Players Championship update, if I may.
Please.
It's getting spicy. The leader was Chad Ramey at one point. I never heard of him. Made a quad on 17.
Hold on. Before you go on, can you, when we looked up at the board and he was at -9, do you remember what I told
10.
you? -10.
Yeah.
Do you remember what I told you?
Yeah, he said it wasn't going to last long.
And what's he at now?
He's +3 on the day. He made a quad on 17. So,
Ooh.
yeah.
You know,
Bad
you
day.
start to get towards the weekend and you see yourself 3 up on real big names.
The pressure, eh?
So,
He's acting like an NHL goalie.
but the most exciting part of this now is Adam Svensson, good Canadian boy, has now vaulted himself into second place here. He's at 7 under. And Adam Hadwin has a kick in to go to 4 under. So, and Taylor Pendrith also floating around at 4 under. So lots of Canadian content at the Players Championship this weekend. Could be a lot of fun for Canadian golf. And, you know, a lot like the Carter effect for basketball in Canada. This is the Weir effect in Canada for all these good Canadian
the
players.
next wave.
So
They
it's
just gotta
exciting.
catch Christian Gesundheit
was
there,
this
or
your-
whatever his name is.
Like back channel way of promoting your golf program.
No, I didn't even mention it.
Golf guys.
Yeah, golf guys. I
Saturday
host the golf
mornings
show.
at 8 a.m.
9 a.m.
9 a.m.
9 a.m. But it doesn't start until the Masters officially. But me and Gunnar are going to do a pod on Monday. And if it's a Canadian that wins the Players Championship, it'll be a rather
We're
fired
going
up
live.
one.
Reaction pod.
That's an excellent plug.
Thank you. I wasn't even trying to. I'm pretty
I'm here
excited
for
about it.
ya.
Thanks, bud. Appreciate it. Anyways,
Okay.
we should go.
We're going to take a quick break. Bob Stauffer, host of Oilers Now. They come in hot.
Red hot.
Is that not a good thing for the Leafs?
Whatever.
It'll be fun, though.
Yeah,
It's not a be-all, end-all game.
No, it's great. It's great. They need to play good teams. They need to see what they got here.
Promise me if, Sammy, if Edmonton does have their way with the Leafs Saturday night, you're not going to come in Monday morning with your like tongue dragging.
No, I'll be fine.
People love the podcast when the Leafs disappoint them.
Yeah, we get like double the viewers in the others.
What should I be mad at?
All right,
Yeah,
we got
just move
Bob
on.
coming up after the break. Hey, listen, if you're enjoying it, give us a rating and review. We'd love to hear from you. Hit the like button for us on a Friday off the rails. We're back after these words. Real Kyper and Bourne.
real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Hockey night in Canada. Must-watch TV Saturday as the Edmonton Oilers come to town and play against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now joining us, Bob Stauffer, host of Oilers Now. Does a terrific job as a panelist on the NHL on Rogers Regional Broadcast. Stauffer, are you just going to take the rest of the season off and then just join up the Oilers when they play in the final against the Boston Bruins? Is that the game plan?
Nick, I think you might be getting a little ahead of yourself.
Oh, no. I watched Sportsnet last night. It's a done deal.
Well, you know what? Sometimes the best laid plans, you know how that works. I mean, if you had told me last year in Game 2 against Calgary when it was 3-1 for the Flames after they'd won 9-6 in Game 1 that Edmonton was going to win 4 straight games, I would have told you I had some swampland in Alberta, in northern Alberta, where it's about minus 23 right now. So anything can happen, you know. I like, you know, you guys are sitting here in Maple Leaf country. You guys are in the pool of death. Like, you got a tough division to run the gauntlet. Your general manager went up. He made significant additions and stepped up. But at the end of the day, if the other team gets better goaltending, or you have a couple guys having out of this world experience like Connor and Leon did against Calgary last year, anything can happen. So it was a good win in Boston. It was a good win because number one, the way Skinner bounced back from just a real tough first period. I love the medal that he showed, and you know your listeners get that. You know, character isn't defined by what you do when things are going good. It's how you handle adversity. And he had some adversity last night against a good team. The guy is the proverbial, you know, cool as a cucumber. His teammates love him. You know, Connor told us after the game, he's not surprised. Like this, and this guy is a drafted. I saw this guy play when he was, you know, 13 with the Southside Athletic Club, which is the same team I played for 35 years earlier. So, you know, they've got, I don't know if they got, you know, a stone cold mortal walk, number one goaltender, top 5 in the league, but they got a guy that they believe in right now. They got to get Jack Campbell going right. Their defense is vastly improved. And they do have the top dogs, but they have way better support scoring this year than they've had in the past.
Way better support scoring, and they get Matthias Ekholm at the deadline, which seems to slot all the D into better positions. What has the addition of Ekholm done for the chances of this Oilers group?
Well, it's done a lot, and Justin, it was a hard trade to make. Like, you know, Ken Holland has not been a guy that's been super active at the trade deadline. I looked at it, his last big-time move that he made was getting Brad Stewart back in 2008. You know, the last 3 years in Detroit, he sold players off. The year before that, they did nothing at the deadline. When the last year they were in the playoffs. The first 3 years in Edmonton, he made smaller moves. But Nick will appreciate the Oilers had a prospect named Reed Schaefer. He's probably the closest player to Tanner Janelle out of the Western League in the last 15 years. That was a big player to lose. You know, I think the Oilers stole a guy there late in the draft. I think he's going to play. I know he didn't kill it in the World Juniors, not his game. And they gave up a number one, and Barry was a very popular player. But Ekholm was the right player for Edmonton. He changes. You know, when they put Ekholm and Darnay in the first PK unit, now Darnell and Cody Ceci are in the second PK unit instead of being in the first unit. It eases the workload on Darnell. Darnell can play with a little bit more edge because he's got another guy that can play 20-plus minutes on defense, and so Darnell can keep a couple guys a little bit more honest out on the ice. He's totally settled down Evan Bouchard, who's going to be a real good offensive defenseman. So, and you nailed it, Justin. It's just slotted everybody in the perfect spot.
So you slot everybody in a perfect slot. You go into Boston. You do something that they've rarely done before, and that's lose. And they haven't done it giving up a first goal or going into the third with a lead. And I'm just wondering now, not that you overplay one game, Stoff, but where does this stand, this win against Boston, the way they did it, in terms of, I don't know what the right word is, validating this team as a contender as far as an emotional win? Where would last night have ranked over the last few years?
Well, Jay, the Oilers developed a coach, Nick, out of, Toronto guy, Jay Woodcroft, and he's had to fight for everything that he's ever got. And he got promoted last year on February 10th. Edmonton has the best winning percentage in the Western Conference since Jay Woodcroft took over as coach. That's last year in February. Since Christmas, the Oilers are 18-7-6. That's the best record of any Western Conference team. So they've actually been playing pretty well. They've cut the goals against down. Their power play and goals for speak for themselves. I mean, since Jay's been the coach, they've been the leading scoring team in the NHL with vastly improved 5v5 play. But last night was a big deal. Like it was. I mean, Boston's a good team. For whatever reason, the Oilers win there. They've won 6 of their last 7 games in Boston. I think what happens is Boston opens it up a bit more at home, and the Oilers just go out and play. And when Edmonton plays at home against Boston, because the Bruins have won a bunch of games in Edmonton, the Oilers try to entertain, and Boston just plays that mature, smart game and waits for the Oilers to make mistakes, and then they execute on them. So it was a big game, but guess what? Tomorrow's a big game, too. There's a lot of Ontario kids on the team. They're not kids, they're men. Connor hasn't played in front of fans here in Toronto since he undressed Morgan Riley back, I think it was January 6th of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be a big night. It's going to be a fun night, and Toronto's got a real good team. They're way better at home, and the Leafs, they're a good home team. The Oilers are actually a really good road team. Edmonton's 20-10-3 this year on the road. 13-4-3 in their last 20.
We're all looking forward to it. God, hockey's fun sometimes. Finally, this is a great Saturday night matchup. We are, as I mentioned, we're excited about it. When considering the division that they're in and the conference that they're in, I think the Oilers are the best team in the West. Colorado can make that case when they're healthy. But right now, the Oilers are in the first wild card slot, a step behind Seattle, LA, Vegas, but only 4 points out of the division lead. How important is it for Edmonton to get to the top of this group by the time playoffs start?
Well, Justin, I think Edmonton can get there because they got a substantially easier schedule for about their final 12 or 13 games, and the Oilers totally the last 3 years have been a second half team.
Mm-hmm.
So, they're running the gauntlet of an 8-game stretch where they got Winnipeg, who going in, a couple of weeks out, we're playing pretty good hockey. They got Winnipeg twice, the Leafs twice, and Boston twice. So they've beaten Boston. They've beaten on the road, when the Bruins hadn't squandered a third period lead all season. They handled Toronto probably easier than any other time in a matchup between the two teams over the last, Toronto was 9-0-1 in Edmonton.
Yeah.
Owned them, right? And the Oilers were way better than the Leafs that night. And it was, and the level. Here's another thing for you guys: the level of engagement from the Oilers players in that game against Toronto. Back home had come in. Yeah, Tyson Barrie was a popular guy, but I think the players showed their appreciation for what the manager did. And McDavid and Draisaitl spearheaded at the start. They had ratcheted up the intensity, and it culminated with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins sticking up for Kailer Yamamoto and working over Justin Hall. They were engaged. So. They had a tough 8-game stretch. They pulled some wins out of here, and I actually think Edmonton will come in first and second in the Pacific Division. I don't know if they'll end up top spot. I do think it's important to at least get home ice for the first round.
So the decision not to play Jack Campbell against the Leafs last week, the decision not to play him tomorrow night, handful of games coming up in the next couple of weeks. Where is there opportunities for this guy to feel good about himself going into a Stanley Cup situation where if Skinner falters, he's got to jump in?
It's funny with goalies because to me, goalies, unless you have one of the top 3 or 4 guys, they're like relief pitchers. You know what I mean? They have a good run and then they don't, unless you got Rivera. Vasilevsky, Shesterkin, we're talking about different caliber guys. I don't think it's set in stone that Skinner's the guy for the playoffs. If Stewart has 2 or 3 poor starts in a row, Jack's going to get his opportunity. It's been a difficult year. They made him change his equipment a bit, modernize on that front. I don't think there's quite the same pressure at Edmonton as there is in Toronto, but he signed a big ticket. And Skinner is the most poised, you guys both played. Goaltenders at times can be unique personalities. Stuart Skinner's the antithesis of this. He's 24 going on 29. He's just a mature, calm, relaxed, easygoing guy. And his teammates, they've watched this evolution from – we had people in the organization 3 or 4 years ago that didn't think this guy could play in the NHL. The pandemic here was huge, that 2021 season, because he got a taste at the NHL of being around Mike Smith and Koskinen, a 39 and 33-year-old goaltender. And then he went down, and the Pacific Division was the only American League division that had a playoff, and Bakersfield won that. They beat Logan Thompson and Vegas's farm team in Henderson that year. So he's just taken quantum leaps, but it's the poise. Like I don't like goaltenders that are frenetic and are up and down. Like I like guys that are consistent, and he is, and it's just ironic. I mean, it's hard to believe, like because they've been so poor. To put things in perspective in drafting, they have not drafted. The Leafs have the only player that the Oilers have drafted in the last 20 years after round one that's had a 60-point season in the NHL. You know who that is?
No.
Eric Gustafson, the defenseman. They haven't drafted one forward. Stu McGregor was my head coach in Edmonton. He ran the draft. But I mean, and I bring this up because, not lots of teams miss on goalies. Like there's people that say, don't draft goalies, just go and sign them. But this is the exception. An Edmonton area product that they drafted, developed, and he, to a large extent, in spite of the brilliance of Connor McDavid, we haven't even talked about that. To a large extent, Skinner has been the guy that's kind of salvaged things for Edmonton, because Jack Campbell right now, if you go to moneypuck.com, is 93rd out of 95 goaltenders in expected goals, in terms of, or goals saved above expectation. 93rd out of 95, minus 20. Some people think between 9 to 11 points this year with his starts. That's what's been cost. Oilers would be, if they'd had average goaltending. Now, don't get me wrong, Jack's pulled the Oilers out in a couple of games, but Skinner's played a huge part in a modicum, and I use the word modicum of success that Edmonton's had this year.
We're looking forward to a great night. Stoff, thanks for doing this, man. Really appreciate your time.
Hey, awesome, guys. Take care.
Thanks,
Enjoy
Stoff.
the game.
Appreciate it.
Bob Stauffer, host of Oilers Now. Everybody's gearing up for tomorrow night. Should be a dandy.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's an interesting Oilers team.
Well, the one thing that stood out for me last night, beating the Boston Bruins, is they didn't need Connor McDavid or Draisaitl to carry the offense. Like, they found a way to win without those guys lighting it up.
Going down, and without those guys lighting it up, they get a win in Boston. It's very impressive. But I do, they're deeper now with Kane. Since the pickup of Kane, they have an extra bit of grit and scoring. Hyman taking a step. Nugent Hopkins having a career year. Like, it's all kind of firing at the right time. Now, are Cody Ceci and Evan Bouchard and Brett Kulak and Vinny Desharnais, are those guys going to be,
I don't know,
awesome in D?
You're just rolling the dice right now.
But maybe it doesn't matter in the West as much, You finish first in that division.
Just a matter of some guys, if they can handle the pressure too. Like, you can look at it and say it's wide open, but, Evan Bouchard, a young player, tremendous upside. He's the man now.
Might be a turnover in there where you're like,
right?
oh.
So it's like, hey, Evan, not sure if you're quite ready for this, but we need you to help win us the Stanley Cup right now.
But again, it's not like they're playing Boston and Tampa or the Rangers or the Devils or the whatever. It's going to be Seattle or the Kings or, it's not that those are bad teams, but they're not
the
the
game
same
last
level.
night.
Yeah.
I thought Skinner's 2 goals were horrible.
Awful. The one at the end of the period was just a killer.
Horrible goal.
Horrible goal.
Second left.
And he already screwed it up behind the net.
Yeah, he passed it to the front of the net. You got to be so pissed on the bench.
Krejci picked it off.
Yeah, that was vile.
And then I'm watching the game-winning goal on Swayman from Darnell.
So when they shot through his crest?
And I'm like, you could show me that on replay 100 times, and 100 times I can't figure out how that got through him.
No. Yeah, it's like someone like swallowing a sword. I'm like, what's the science on that? Can a puck go through your chest? I don't understand the technicalities. But it's in the net.
So, do you guys done in the Oilers? I got a couple things I want to bring up with you.
Yeah, think so.
Sure.
In the Oilers, yeah.
So last night, I was quite interested because Eric Comrie gave up 10 goals. They left him in for all 10. So I was interested in how many goalies had actually surrendered 10 goals in the history of the NHL. So I asked our wonderful stat department, how many goalies do you think in the history of the NHL have given up 10 goals?
Oh God, 100. I mean, I feel like it happened all the time.
I think it might be under 50. You're getting pulled. You're not lasting.
Wrong. 123 goalies have allowed 10 or more goals in a game.
Okay.
All right.
Ken McCauley had 11 games where he allowed 10 goals.
Come on.
Yeah, man.
What a record that is.
Ken McCauley, and I mean, if you, his pictures on Google are black and white. So
What year?
What? Yeah, I mean, he played like I don't even his hockey DB.
What
He
era?
played for a team called like the Wanderers
No,
or the Millionaires.
He played for the Rangers from 43 and 44 and 44 and 45.
All right. See, I'm gonna give him a pass. He was using, a
Howard
chunk of redwood for a stick.
Howard Lockhart did it 7 times, and the guy the trophy for the best goalie is named after, George Vezina, gave up 10 goals 6 times.
See, Eric Comrie can go, listen, George Vezina did this
And
6 times.
Owen Sound legend, I had to bring it up, Harry Lumley, the rink is named after him. He was my next door neighbor. He gave up 10 5 times.
He was your next door neighbor.
Yes, he was.
How small is Owen Sound? 7 people?
No. He was my next door neighbor for a long time. And Greg Millen gave up 5 times. He did 10 goals. So.
All right.
And in the last
Throw Millsy under the
Just a
bus.
quick-
he's on the list. And in the last 25 years, there's been since 97, 98, there have been 5 goalies to allow 10 goals in a game. Eric Comrie last night. Jonas, the guy from Colorado, Johansson. He gave Al Montoya, Steve Valiquette.
Oh.
Valley gave up.
Valley gave up 10 in 08, 09, and Billy Ranford in 98.
We got to get Valley back on.
There you go,
we'll get
boys.
Valley back on.
There you go.
Okay, we're gonna get to some texts and tweets, but we gotta pick lines.
Well, first, I got stats for you.
Okay, give us Tampa Bay stats.
So I wrote an article today on sportsnet.ca about how much should the Toronto Maple Leafs engage with Tampa's physical nature in the playoffs, because Tampa's going to try to drag him into the alley. And I was thinking about it.
Are they really?
Yes, they are. So I was thinking about it. I was like,
Or just a few guys?
Well, I don't know. So I thought, boy, that team, gritty, physical, they seem to do this a lot. So I started looking into it. First in the NHL in PIMS per game this year, the Tampa Bay Lightning. First in the NHL with 12 minutes and 10 seconds of penalties per game. So I looked into it with this group. You know what they finished last year? First in the NHL in PIMS. Going back 11 years, they were first 9 times and second twice. Never outside of the top 2 in PIMS while John Cooper has been the coach.
Who's been the culprit? Because Corey Perry hasn't been there that long.
So Cooper's got to be a part of it. He must like some of this.
Their stars take penalties.
Their stars
Kucherov
take
takes
penalties.
a ton of penalties. He's
Yep.
a greasy, you know what?
You have to go back to hold on. You have to go back to 2005 for them to be out of the top 5 in PIMS in Tampa Bay.
Weird.
Isn't that bizarre?
Who has been leading them in penalty minutes?
I don't know.
All these years.
So last year,
What's Hedman's PMs? Give me Hedman's
and
PMs.
Kipper, it's only going up. Over the last 6 years, their PIMs are 10-23, 10-40, 11, 11-16, 11-30, 10, 12-10.
I find this fascinating.
Gritty. And so this year they go all the way in. The only reason they finished second last year, they were 2 seconds behind Nashville because Tanner Jeannot led the league in majors. So who'd they get this year? Tanner Jeannot. They want to be the muckiest, grimiest, grittiest team in hockey.
We're going back to Stevie Yzerman days,
Yes.
and it's been a consistent thing.
Yes.
So this year, Pat Maroon leads the way for them with 105. Corey Perry, 76. Ian Cole, Sergachev, Bogosian, Eric
listen to
Chernak.
these guys.
They're just all...
Sergachev is greasy. Bogosian's greasy.
Yeah.
It's a greasy team. So
Chernak, Hagel.
if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs and you picked up Achari and Lafferty and McCabe and Shen, how much attention do you give to those guys who become more relevant when you give them attention?
I think the answer is clear because you went out and got those guys. You didn't get them to turn the other cheek.
But it just feels like that's a game you're going to lose against Tampa Bay.
I think the difference between... I'm just going to pick on Engvall because Engvall got benched last night.
He played 8 minutes for the Isles, by the way.
I'm just going to pick on him.
Yeah.
He's going to go away when he gets pressed like that.
He did. They chirped him all playoffs last year because he wouldn't fight Hagel.
He's going to go away. And the guys they brought in aren't necessarily going to engage. And, I don't think they're big fighters, Lafferty and Shan will drop him, but I don't think he's necessarily a brawler, and Achari's not. But I don't think they're going to go away when these guys are leaning on
they're
him.
not going to turn the other cheek.
That's what I mean.
They're not, but there has to be enough of a thought process that says we don't need to go toe-to-toe with them every time. We can pick our spots, and then we're going to have to hope like hell that we are leading a charge enough where the officials can read that they're trying to engage us.
Yeah.
They're trying to hold us back from playing the game. And you get the calls that you're hoping to get.
Yeah.
And you kill them on the power play.
That's the problem, though, right? That's the answer. Is that you have to make them pay for that style of game, and the Leafs haven't shown that they can do that. That's to me a big question here. So I mentioned in the article, when I was in junior hockey, our coach would write up, we're playing a playoff series against this team, circle a couple of guys and say every time we're on the ice with them, we're in their ear and say we're coming for you every shift. And then there's guys that you would just ignore. And that would be Perry and Maroon and Belmar and whatever. You don't even acknowledge them. But you can't not acknowledge a guy who's punching you in the face the way Matthews did Sherratt or, Sedin did Marchand. You have to acknowledge it. So I think that's a big test for the Leafs, is how much is stay focused and play hockey versus not getting pushed around, fighting back at you.
So one thing that I didn't have in my article this week on things to do in the next 18 games for the Toronto Maple Leafs is get in a couple of brawls. Get in a couple of 5-on-5s. Muck it up. Like,
God, I'd love to see that.
Learn how to just play the game a little bit without taking yourself out of your lane or your rhythm, but work on it.
You remember
get a little greasy Saturday night if need be.
That game last night, Tampa's down 3-1 with 6 minutes and 40 seconds to go. They have a 5-on-5 brawl. It doesn't become all about that. They stay in the fight. They pull their goalie. They score twice on the power play. They tie the game up. Tampa can play within the confines of that emotion, and the Leafs haven't shown that they are able to yet. So anyway, that's something I'm watching.
Luke Shen in front of the net, couple of cross checks, and then a scrum. We had that look last week in Calgary.
Yeah. Yeah, it's there for them. Maybe they'll find it a bit down the stretch. Okay.
I'm dying for a brawl.
Well, just listen. I'll punch you after the show.
No, not that kind of brawl.
I volunteer as well.
I watched the highlights of that game last night, and there's just few things that make me feel excited about all the guys just getting really mad and all the gloves coming off, and it was
actually funny because Perry's trying to fight someone and someone's trying to grab Perry and Bogosian's trying to grab the guy off Perry, and that
was great.
It really was a good dust up.
Yeah.
You like the juice, huh?
Yeah, we like the juice. Okay, you want to pick lines and see if you can before we get to
I just feel like we're going to waste time preparing this.
Oh, we didn't prepare?
No, we're not.
Oh, you did prepare.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Good. Hey, I'm a professional.
Oh, yeah.
Air quotes.
Oh.
Derek, you got any bingo bango sounds for us? I'm evolving.
Bingo bango.
I'm picking 3.
Is that Ziskumba?
3 That's great.
Love it. Go ahead.
All right, I'm picking the first 3 names here. Or first 3 numbers. We got 52. We got 29. Oh boy, who's that? And we got 16.
Oh my God.
So we got Achari, Lafferty, Marner.
Yes.
No,
it's
29? 29 or 20?
Who's
29 is
29?
Holmberg.
Holmberg. Okay, Achari, Holmberg,
You got
Marner.
Holmberg in there.
Oops.
I'm coming up with something way better than that.
Do you put him back in?
Oh yeah, I'm going next.
Oh, okay.
I'm picking a line now.
Okay, all right.
Oh my God.
You say him all right.
Who's the first guy I picked?
16.
Flex Seal.
I cannot believe.
Alex DeFurfoot.
I got him now. Number 1 left winger. All right.
Okay.
I'm not going that guy.
He
Okay.
literally put a name back in.
No, that ruins the exercise.
All right, with Kerf.
Oh my God.
16. We got Mitchie.
Oh my
Mitchie's
God.
playing with Kerf on his top
Oh
line.
my God.
All right.
And bunts.
That's,
So that means you
my
gotta play-
line's better than yours.
You
For
got-
sure.
You got to play Bunce on the wing, Kerfoot in the middle, and Marner on right. Then
Okay, go one more time.
okay. Give me these three. I grabbed three. All right. I got Kampf. I got Matthews, and I got Achari.
Oh, that sucks.
Kampf, Matthews, Achari.
That's the
All right, we
worst.
found
That's
a winner yet.
That's the worst line you could put together in the Leafs.
Oh my
By
gosh.
far.
I got Tavares, I got Simmons, and I got Yarncroc.
All right, this exercise is over.
Yeah, guess what, guys? Keeps better than this.
No, Keith's not that far off to this. This is ultimately what the coaches are doing in the morning.
You had Tavares, Simmons, and who? All right.
Yarncroc.
Yarncroc. Oh, I like it. I like it.
By the way, like, is Simmons in the mix or is he not in the mix?
Great question.
I think he's just there
Just one question.
getting some reps.
I don't like. I get the fact that he doesn't want to play for the Marlies. It's just a pride thing, I'm sure.
For
like,
sure.
It's in the city. I don't understand why he wouldn't play a few games just to try to stay sharp.
Well, I think he would. Oh, with the Marlies.
Yeah.
Has he ever played in the American League?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I'm looking up.
That's a, you know.
But is that the reason why you're not playing for the Marlies? Just to stay sharp? Like, if the team needs you and you need to go in, don't you want to play a few games?
I actually was thinking,
He
like,
has never played a game in the AHL.
I was thinking if it came down to like last game where they got to have Holmberg and Steves, like, give me Simmons instead of Steves. Like, just give me something.
Oh, of
something,
course.
I'm okay
you know?
with Simmons needing to come back in. I just don't understand how he can sit for 2 weeks and just shoot pucks in
It's been
practice
2
every
months, hasn't
day.
it? Yeah.
2 months.
Yeah.
And play once every 2.5, 3 weeks and not be in the rhythm of a hockey game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not easy. I wouldn't envy that position.
When's the last time he
why would
played?
Why would they not
like
press
3
him to
weeks
play?
Ago, 2-3 weeks
You
ago,
want
not
to?
that long
Hey,
ago.
listen, we may need you in the playoffs. Can you go play a few games and just stay sharp?
Yeah, the last time he played was February 1st.
It's a good point.
Bruins.
It's a good point. You know, like if
It's not like we're
He's a
asking you to
viable
go to
option.
St. John's
yeah. Well, Utica's
across
not
the
great.
street.
You know, you're right. If there's a home game here and you can just go across the hall and
Yeah. You don't want to go play in, Lake Erie Monsters or something.
you know what? If I were Simmons, I don't know if I'd have a hard time being like I'm like 14 years into my career or something.
I feel the same way.
Listen, I get that, but you're all trying to win a Stanley Cup here. Can you check the egos at the door here?
Yeah, no, your point resonates with me because a lot of times I think we do too much tiptoeing around egos. Like it's your hockey player, you're part of the team, then be in shape in case we need you. But
Wayne, if you win the Stanley Cup this year, no one's going to remember the 3 games you played for the Marlies.
in fact, they may say, look at this guy's commitment to being a champion.
There you go. Okay, what do we got?
Not a whole lot, if I'm being honest.
Okay, let's just sit here for the next
I got
12
so
minutes
here-
and
here
watch
you go.
the golf.
No, I got one for you.
Ramey had made another bogey.
No, this is not live. This is now a replay because
Oh.
they blew the horn.
Okay,
They blew the horn.
unlive.
And live. They blew the horn. Unfortunately, Adam Svensson had just made another birdie to go to -8.
Wow.
was red hot.
And they blew the horn. So his momentum had.
On what? Darkness? What's going on?
No, bad weather. Big
Oh, bad
storm coming
weather.
in. The play is completely suspended
Oh,
today.
good.
They're not starting until tomorrow morning.
Why should we be in bad weather and them not?
Oh, it's still snowing, eh? Good Lord. All right. This is an interesting question from Warrior Womp, who is a contributor to our show
Yeah.
on YouTube.
100%.
Tavares, Gio, and O'Reilly were all captains on their former teams and came to play for Toronto. My question is, towards the end of his career, would Stamkos ever consider putting on a Maple Leafs jersey?
It's a good question. I'm taking no. I feel like the rivalry has been too direct. The decision not to come here was already made once. I feel like, I don't know. That's a big slap in the face to your, one team your whole life playing for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Don't you think?
I'm with you. I don't see ever a scenario where Stamkos is coming. And if he is, then it falls into that same routine of getting great players at their end of their careers.
Just want to do it to do it.
Well, it's just like looking for retirement jobs.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Within the organization.
I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but just something convenient and, makes your family happy. And it's just.
It is funny, like
the opportunity was there for Stamkos to be a Toronto Maple Leaf prior to Tavares. He said, no, thank you.
yeah.
And that's where it stands. And he will retire at Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, he's a one-team guy to me. But it is interesting. Like if Muzzin is hurt, and can never play again, probably end up in the organization in some capacity.
If he chooses.
You know, and Spezza has done that as well. And
Yeah, I know, but you're only as comfortable as the people that have brought you in. And if by chance, Kyle Dubas isn't there anymore,
right,
all bets are off on a lot of people in the staff and
true
ex-players or analytic departments. Everybody's on the line here in the first round.
A lot of livelihoods and paychecks hanging on the balance of an outcome.
Here's one for you. This is a good question. What's up, Sammy and boys? I guess you guys are the boys. Got a great two-part question for you. Wow, he's really pumping it up.
We'll decide how great it is, pal.
Compared to last year, would you say the Leafs are worse, the same, or better? And what about Tampa? Question mark. Great question. What do you think, boys?
I'm going to take the Tampa side because I wrote about it today. They're worse.
Okay, and I'll take better for the Leafs.
Okay. The Tampa Bay Lightning have not been outside of the top 10 in any goals for or goals against category for 5 years. They're 15th in goals against in the NHL right now. Like they're porous. They're giving up goals like crazy. That has not been the case with that decor in the past.
As far as the Toronto Maple Leafs, I think we just go back to last week and the players that they brought in, legitimate. There's no tryout feel for Lafferty. There's no tryout feel for Achari. They're proven depth guys. Mm-hmm. They're battlers. They give you a playoff feel and look. And that's something that I think has been missing the last few years.
The only thing I would say there is just that the Leafs only their best players, but two of them, Matthews and Riley, we're kind of waiting on, right? Like they had better seasons last year. We felt better about where they were at. So need them to kind of come around a little bit.
So this is a great question with the Oilers in tomorrow. Then one that'll sure to piss off Oilers fans. I know this has probably been asked 1,000 times, but will McDavid come to Toronto? And that's from Colin and Barry.
I gotta believe not. But if if things don't go well in Edmonton for long enough and he ever wanted to go somewhere.
The Oilers are only a couple of years away from that feel that Leaf Nation has now with Matthews and Nylander and Marner after, I think, 2 years. And that is like what's going to happen on new deals for McDavid and Draisaitl.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that far off. Draisaitl is, I think, a year behind Matthews. So Matthews gets to renegotiate and potentially sign an extension in July. Draisaitl's comes a year later.
Mm-hmm.
But we're talking, guys, 15+ million for both of them. And here's something to keep in mind.
Yes.
That there was a projection of a salary cap going up in the foreseeable future, but there's a little bit of a hiccup going on with regional television, and as many as 13 teams that are really affected. It won't affect the salary cap next year, but in 2 years, this hiccup with that Bally Regional Sports Network can come back and really throw a wrench into where the salary caps is in year 2, 3, or 4 from now.
Yeah.
Which affects McDavid, Draisaitl, Matthews, all of them.
But with the Oilers and McDavid, if the salary cap were 84 million or 94 million, they would give him 20% of that in a heartbeat just to make sure he stays. You can't be the team that gets rid of.
But he doesn't
Gretzky
want
and
that.
McDavid.
But he doesn't want that because if it costs you Draisaitl, why do I want to stay and carry that burden by myself?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think he harbors some secret desire to do it or anything, but
all I know is I saw his face when Edmonton won the draft lottery. and he knew how in the mix Toronto was, that man's dream is to play for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Leafs show.
There's
your red meat, folks.
Listen, you can say, hey, you can come after me, Oilers Twitter. It's his dream.
Well,
it's always been his dream.
And I don't know where he stands on if he feels like he's okay being the best player on the planet and not really getting the same international love as other top athletes of their sports.
I can't think of someone who wants attention less than McDavid.
Then maybe he stays in Edmonton.
Yeah.
But like, as far as the league's concerned, Edmonton's not a great place to have the best player on the planet. And the Wayne Gretzky factor, was that, you're not getting as much love being an Edmonton Oiler as you ever did with the LA King, and that trickle effect in the U.S.
You got a cartoon and a cereal.
And I don't know where would the league be. You think the league would really want McDavid in Edmonton the rest of his career?
You think they want Bedard in Arizona?
Yeah, they do, because they want to save their stupid team down there.
I mean, these are all factors to consider.
Such a fun show, and now we're going to get killed for this. I love it. No, it's fair points. You've not said one thing that I disagree with.
John Tavares is $11 million off the books 2024, 2025. Connor McDavid, a free agent in 25, 26. Throwing it out there.
Not saying, just saying. Wouldn't.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. After 25, 25, 26.
And
Just
how
throw
much
it
is
out
Mitch Marner making because you lost
there. You lost who?
lost Tavares?
Oh.
Won't he want to make that up? Or
Yeah, that's fine. But the cap will be up,
Is Matthews gone in your books when McDavid comes to, or just Tavares?
That's the dirty little secret here that
Like,
I don't
come
know.
Yeah, you don't know.
I don't know that part. I'm looking into my crystal ball, and that part is unclear so far. That part's unclear to me.
Who's the fan that asked that question that totally is going to kill us for the next 5 hours on Twitter?
Who? What do you mean?
Who asked it?
Yeah, who asked it?
Oh, some guy it was a guy on the text line, Colin and Barry.
Colin
and Barry. Thanks, I spent a lot of time.
So,
in Barry,
Justin,
I tell
you've got him leaving Edmonton, eh?
McDavid. Yeah, I did not say that. Don't put it in my mouth.
I'll say it. Yeah, he's gone. You better win one,
That's
baby.
a good
Because he
conversation
gone.
going into Oilers versus the Leafs tomorrow night.
The Oilers got to win. I know that them being good keeps their player happy. He wants to win a cup. If he doesn't think he'd win a
Do
cup,
you ever see envisioning McDavid or anyone else just saying, I want the whole cap 20% what I'm entitled to?
yeah, Marner's going to do it next
No,
time.
I was going to say Austin Matthews for sure. For sure.
You think?
Oh, yeah.
yeah, you're just
Are you
eating up
crazy?
20% of the
That
Kings
is
cap
so
for 8 years,
unlike
7 years.
NHL players.
Yeah. He's unlike a lot of NHL players.
What do you think?
What?
So what is the cap?
20% max.
I know, but what does that say on
Oh, on 90 million, it's 18 million.
Oh, I can't see anybody asking for that.
No, that's crazy talk. Except when, McDavid signs in Toronto for 18 million.
All right. Just like that.
Enjoy the game, baby.
Totally derailed this show. Bob Stauffer, thank you very much. Doug McLean, thank you very much. Chris Terrian. Have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy the game Saturday night. We're back on Monday. Real Kyper and Bourne. Thanks for watching.
Seal, the easy way to coat, seal, and stop leaks fast.
From the City News 680 Traffic Center, I'm Carling Donahue, and this report is brought to you by Infinity Canada. On the East 401, the ramp to the North 427 missing a left lane due to a collision. We have delays east of Dixie in the Collectors, and approaching Avenue in the Collectors, a right lane is blocked with a collision. Also heading northbound on the 404 DVP combo, we have a crash just north of Lawrence. It's in one of the center lanes, and then it's jam solid 407.